The global trade landscape is shifting, and the European Union is making a bold move. As trade tensions simmer and old alliances fray, the EU is deepening its ties with China. This pivot towards the East is driven by a complex interplay of factors, from the return of Donald Trump to the White House to the EU's own desire for strategic autonomy. The EU's growing relationship with China is not without its challenges. The two economic powerhouses are also strategic rivals, with differing views on human rights, intellectual property, and global governance. Yet the potential rewards of closer cooperation are too great to ignore. For the EU, China represents a vast market for its goods and services, as well as a source of investment and technological innovation. China, in turn, sees the EU as a crucial partner in its own economic development and its quest for global influence. As the world watches, the EU and China are forging a new chapter in their relationship, one with far-reaching implications for the global order. The spectre of Donald Trump looms large over the EU's pivot towards China. Trump's return to the White House in 2025 sent shockwaves through the global economy, as his administration quickly reinstated tariffs on Chinese goods. These protectionist policies, reminiscent of his first term, have reignited trade tensions between the US and China. The EU, caught in the crossfire, is wary of becoming collateral damage in a trade war not of its making. Trump's unpredictable nature and his America First agenda have left European leaders feeling uneasy. They fear that the US, under Trump's leadership, is no longer a reliable trade partner. This uncertainty has spurred the EU to seek alternative alliances and reduce its reliance on the US. China, with its massive economy and growing global clout, presents itself as a natural partner for the EU in this new era of trade turbulence. Despite the complexities and challenges, the EU and China are actively seeking to strengthen their ties. In a significant development, China lifted sanctions on 5 members of the European Parliament in May 2025. These sanctions, imposed in response to the EU's criticism of China's human rights record, had effectively frozen trade talks between the two blocs. This conciliatory move by China signals a willingness to engage with the EU on trade. Even amidst ongoing political disagreements, it paves the way for renewed dialogue and potential trade agreements. Further solidifying this commitment to engagement, a high-level EU-China summit is scheduled for July 2025. The summit, expected to be attended by top officials from both sides, will provide a platform for discussing a wide range of issues, from trade and investment to climate change and global security. The EU is keen to use this opportunity to address its concerns over market access, intellectual property rights, and China's industrial subsidies. The automotive industry stands as a key battleground in the evolving EU-China trade relationship. The EU, seeking to protect its own car manufacturers and promote its green agenda, imposed tariffs on imported Chinese electric vehicles in October 2024. These tariffs, ranging from 7.8% to 35.3%, stem from concerns that Chinese EV makers benefit from unfair state subsidies, giving them a competitive edge in the European market. This move highlights the delicate balancing act the EU faces as it seeks to deepen ties with China while safeguarding its own economic interests. While the EU welcomes Chinese investment and collaboration in areas like green technology, it is also wary of becoming overly reliant on China and losing its competitive edge in strategic sectors. The EU's tariffs on Chinese EVs have not gone unanswered. China, in retaliation, has launched anti-dumping investigations into European car makers, signaling its readiness to protect its own industries from what it perceives as unfair trade practices. Section 5. China bites back. Anti-dumping measures take center stage. The EU's decision to impose tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles has triggered a wave of retaliatory measures from Beijing. China, wielding its own trade weapons, has launched anti-dumping investigations into various EU products, including brandy. These investigations, often lengthy and complex, can lead to the imposition of tariffs on European goods, raising prices for consumers and hurting businesses. China's response underscores the interconnected nature of global trade and the potential for escalating tit-for-tat measures. It also highlights the challenges the EU faces in navigating its relationship with China. While Brussels seeks to address its concerns over unfair trade practices, it must also tread carefully to avoid provoking a full-blown trade war. The EU's trade relationship with China is a multifaceted and evolving one. While both sides recognize the benefits of cooperation, they are also willing to defend their interests and respond to perceived provocations. Section 6. A House Divided, Internal EU Dynamics and the China Question. The EU's approach to China is further complicated by internal divisions within the bloc. The 2024 European Parliament elections saw a surge in support for far-right parties, many of which harbour sceptical views towards China. This rise of Euroscepticism has fragmented the political landscape, making it harder to forge a cohesive and consistent EU-wide strategy on China. Some member states, particularly those in Eastern Europe, are wary of China's growing influence and its human rights record. They advocate for a more cautious approach, prioritizing human rights and security concerns over economic interests. Others, such as France and Germany, see China as a crucial economic partner and advocate for deeper engagement. These internal divisions within the EU are playing out against a backdrop of growing global competition between the US and China. The EU, seeking to chart its own course and assert its strategic autonomy, is caught between these two competing poles. Section 7. Canada. Shifting alliances in the global trade game. The EU's pivot towards China is part of a broader realignment of global trade alliances. Canada, traditionally a close ally of the US, has also signaled a shift in its trade stance. Wary of being caught in the crossfire of the US-China trade war, Canada is seeking to diversify its trade portfolio and reduce its dependence on the US market. This move by Canada further underscores the ripple effects of Trump's protectionist policies. It also highlights the growing importance of China as a global economic powerhouse. As the US retreats from multilateralism and embraces protectionism, other countries are forging new partnerships and seeking alternative avenues for trade and investment. Canada's shift in trade policy serves as a reminder that the global trade landscape is in constant flux. Old alliances are being tested and new partnerships are emerging, driven by shifting economic realities and geopolitical considerations. Section 8. The Balancing Act, Strategic Autonomy versus Economic Interests. The EU's evolving relationship with China is a delicate balancing act. On the one hand, the EU recognizes the importance of China as a global player and a crucial economic partner. China's massive market, its manufacturing prowess, and its growing technological capabilities make it an attractive partner for European businesses and investors. And on the other hand, the EU is acutely aware of the challenges posed by China's rise. Concerns over human rights abuses, unfair trade practices, and China's assertive foreign policy have led some within the EU to advocate for a more cautious and even confrontational approach. This balancing act is further complicated by the EU's own internal divisions and the unpredictable nature of the US-China rivalry. The EU, seeking to chart its own course and assert its strategic autonomy, must carefully weigh its economic interests against its values and strategic concerns. Section 9. The Road Ahead. Navigating the complexities of EU-China relations. The EU's relationship with China is poised to become even more complex and consequential in the years to come. As China's global influence grows, so too will its impact on the EU's economy, security, and foreign policy. The EU will need to navigate this relationship with pragmatism, principle, and a clear-eyed understanding of its own interests and values. Engaging with China while upholding its values will require the EU to speak with a united voice. This will necessitate bridging internal divisions and forging a common approach to China that balances economic opportunities with concerns over human rights and fair competition. The road ahead will undoubtedly be filled with challenges and uncertainties, yet by engaging with China in a spirit of cooperation and constructive dialogue, the EU can help shape a more stable, prosperous, and rules-based global order.